does play a role, of course. Personal relationship, as it is important between people, is also important between leaders. It is important, but you have to consider that over all that, you have the interest of states, which are most important than anything. It is true that Netanyahu and Putin had a very close relationship, and I think it was to Israel's advantage, absolutely. But I also think it is extremely important that Bennett is going to meet Putin. You see, Lapid today is in the United States, has important talks with Blinken and tomorrow with Kamala Harris, and at the same time, or next week, Bennett will be in Sochi meeting with Putin. Right. This is extremely important. The dialogue between Israel and the big powers is important, whoever is the prime minister.
Right, and staying with what Netanyahu has achieved during his tenure in office, Netanyahu reiterated time and again that he was able to maintain Israel's freedom of action vis-a-vis Iranian targets in Syria and elsewhere. When we're talking about the relationship with the Russians, will this be Bennett's main objective arriving in Sochi next week?
You know, Eli, 2 days ago, foreign sources said that there was an Israeli attack in Syria 2 days ago. So if this is true, it means that Israel has the liberty of action. But it is important to continue to have a very close relationship. Russia is the big power in Syria. And I think we have a common interest with Russia to get the Iranian out of Syria. Russian won't say it, of course not. They have good relations with Iran. But it is a common interest of Israel and Russia to get the Iranian out. And I think that will be a main topic in the talks of Bennett with Putin.
What would qualify as a success, Ambassador Pazner, for Bennett's first meeting with Putin?
The very establishing of a dialogue between them, so that Bennett can pick the phone whenever he feels it is important and talk to Putin. This is something you cannot do when you do not know personally. So the establishment of personal relationship is extremely important. I don't think that there will be any big announcement of any diplomatic achievement in this talk. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to open a direct line of communication between Bennett and Putin, like we have now between Bennett and Biden after he was at the White House. And this is of utmost importance in the relationship of Israel.
Right, so Jerusalem's standpoint might be clear, but what would you say are Moscow's objectives this time around, especially as there is a new administration here in Israel? What would Putin like to achieve?
I think Putin wants to be sure that Israel keeps a good relationship with Russia. It is important for Russia too. You know, there was a time that Russia, I'm speaking 30, 40, 50 years, was considered an enemy. Today, Russia, who is a big Middle Eastern power, has interest to keep good relations not only with Arab states, but also with Israel. And I think if this is achieved, it will be for the good of Israel, for the good of Putin. And then, of course, for Putin, it is very important to know we have 1.5 million Soviet Jews, ex-Soviet Jews in Israel. Putin still regards them as Russian Jews.
Right.
It is very important also for him to maintain contact with this part of the Israeli population.
Well, definitely a whole lot to look forward to. Thank you very much.